Hi again, guys. Thank you for joining me again. Good news, chapter three is actually quite short, so we will start and complete chapter three today, and then tomorrow we'll move forward with further chapters. So you're getting two parts today since I missed yesterday on my birthday. So since it's so short, I thought I'd start since right now when I'm recording, winter break just ended. I'm curious, did you go anywhere for winter break? Did you celebrate? Did you spend time with family and friends? How did you spend your time on winter break? Now, I didn't travel on winter break, but kind of in between Thanksgiving and Christmas, Mr. Keller and I did go to New England and we visited Salem, Massachusetts. And that was actually really cool. It was fun. Salem is a much smaller city than I expected. The weather was nice. Got to try lots of new food. Love doing that. And just seeing like older architecture and buildings is always interesting to me. There were a lot of historical things to check out there. So I always thought that this house was like the witch house or something. That's on my sweatshirt, but actually it's where an author stayed to write some books that really aren't spooky, scary books either. So it's interesting. And then of course there was the graveyard, the cemetery, where all the people from like the Salem witch trials and also people that weren't involved in that were buried. So it's interesting to see gravestones from like the 17 and 1800s. That was crazy. Um, Very respectful to people giving you information there too, which was nice. As well as there was some interesting history about the shipyard in the harbor there. So that was really cool. And yeah, just it was a really cool time. We stayed in a cabin in New Hampshire and then traveled to Salem one day. And yeah, I got to hear some loons, which is a type of bird for the first time. I'm a big bird nerd, so I had a lot of fun listening to some birds that I don't always have access to where I live. So I don't know, just wanted to share that. I would love to hear about any cool things that you did over your break, so feel free to share that in the comments. Without further ado, let's go ahead and start Pax chapter 3. All right. Pax was hungry and cold, but what had awoken him was the sense that he needed cover. He blinked and edged backward. What felt like the comforting bars of his pen gave way in brittle snaps. He turned to find the stand of dried milkweed stalks he'd wedged himself against a few hours before. He barked for Peter and remembered his boy was gone. Pax wasn't used to being alone. He had been born into a squirming litter of four, but his father had disappeared before the kits had even learned his scent. And soon after that, his mother had failed to come home one morning. One by one, his brothers and sister had passed away, leaving the only heartbeat in the cold den until leaving his heartbeat the only heartbeat in the cold den until the boy Peter had lifted him out. Since that time, whenever his boy was gone, Pax would pace in his pen until Peter returned. And at night, he always whined to come inside, where he could listen to his humans breathing. Pax loved his boy, but more than that, he felt responsible for Peter, for protecting him. When he couldn't perform this role, he suffered. Pax shook the night's rain off his back and headed for the road without even stretching his stiff muscles, straining for his boy's scent. He couldn't find it. The night's winds had swept the ground clean of any trace. But among the hundreds of odors rising on the early morning breeze, he found something that reminded him of his boy: acorns. Peter had often scooped up handfuls and sprinkled them over Pax's back, laughing to see him shake them off and then crack them to get at the meat. The familiar scent seemed a promise to him now, and he trotted toward it. The acorns were scattered around the base of a lightning-struck oak a few full bounds north of where he had last seen his boy. He crunched at a few of them, but found only shriveled, moldy nubs inside. Then he settled himself on the fallen trunk, ears trained for any sound on the road. While he waited, Pax licked his fur dry and clean, taking comfort in the lingering Peter scent he found there. Then he turned his attention to his forepaws, painstakingly cleaning the many cuts in their pads. Whenever he was anxious, Pax dug at the floor of his pen. He always shredded his paw on the rough concrete beneath, but he could not control the urge. In the week before, he dug nearly every day. When his paws were cleaned, he curled them up under his chest to wait. The morning air pulsed with the noises of spring. The long night before, they had alarmed Pax. The blackness had quivered with the rustle of night prowlers, and even the sounds of the trees themselves, leaves unfurling, sap coursing up new wood, the tiny cracklings of expanding bark, had startled him over and over as he waited for Peter to return. Finally, as dawn had begun to silver the sky, he'd fallen into a shivering sleep. Now, though, the same sounds called to him. 100 times his sensitive ears pricked. And he almost sprang up to investigate, but each time he remembered his boy and stilled himself. The humans had good memories, so they would come back to this spot. But they relied on sight alone, their other senses being so weak. So if they did not see him when they returned, they might leave again. Pax would stay beside the road and ignore all temptations, including the strong urge he felt to head south. The direction his instinct told him would lead him back to his home. He would stay at this spot until his boy came for him. Above him, a vulture cruised the thermals. A lazy hunter, it was searching for the lifeless shape of a carrion. When it found the red-furred form of the fox, motionless but giving off no odor of decay, it circled lower to investigate. Pax registered an instinctive alarm at the cool flicker of V-shaped shadow. He jumped from the trunk and scratched at the dirt beneath. The ground seemed to answer with a distant rumble, like a growling heart. Pax stretched high, the danger form from above forgotten. Sorry, hold on. Pax stretched high, the danger from above forgotten. The last time he had seen his boy, there had been vibrations like this along this very road. He tore over the gravel shoulder to the exact spot where his humans had left him. The vibrations grew to a roar. Pax rose on his haunches to be seen, but the source was not his boy's car. It was not a car at all. As it loomed up, it seemed to the fox to be as large as the house his humans lived in. The truck was green, not the growing green of the trees all around, but a dull olive, a color death might wear when it claimed these trees. The same dull olive of the toy soldier the fox had cached in the milkweed stalks. It stank of diesel and the same charred metal scent that had clung to his boy's father's new clothing. In a cloud of dust and sprayed tones, the truck charged past, followed by another and another and another. Pax bounded away from the road. The vulture soared up and away with a single beat of its wings. And we'll read chapter 4 tomorrow. I've got some chapter 3 questions for you. Why did Pax want to get back to Peter? I think you can answer that one easily. How did the vulture view Pax? And what was Pax determined to wait for? I think I might need a nap. All right, I'm going to pause here, and then I'm going to show you my own little Paxes that keep making noises and interrupting us today and distracting me. Give me one moment. All right, this is Tito. This is one of my dogs. This is the one that's making the high-pitched whining noises. He really wants to be a part of our stories here. And I'll go ahead and get the other pup. And if you've joined any of my read-alouds in the past, you've probably seen this girl. This is Stella. She's my senior puppy, but don't tell her that. She doesn't realize that. She loves sitting on my lap for read-alouds, so you might see her again in the future. But she usually gets Tito started. He's whining right now. She'll usually do like 1 or 2 barks, and then Tito's like, oh, what are we barking at? See, there she goes. So, all right, sorry for all the interruptions and distractions today, but I look forward to starting chapter 4 with you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. Bye.